Just want to run through some housekeeping items here. This is the last webinar for our series. We're pretty excited about the content that we were able to get out of our presenters and some of that information out there. This webinar will be recorded and is currently being recorded, just like our previous webinars. All of those can be found at our working group's website, as well as the University of Kentucky Forestry Extension YouTube channel, if there's problems with that, with our working group's website. Want to remind folks that part of the working group mission here is trying to get that education out and professional development out for folks. And at the national conference in Spokane, we are putting on a Presentations Matters workshop that still has a few slots left open. If you are planning on attending the national conference, we encourage you to think about potentially partaking in that as a way to maybe help you in your current position or potentially your future positions. And with that said, if Gabe is ready, I'll let him get going. But today's presenter is Gabe Jenkins from the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources. And for the last 3 years, he has been the director of the Information and Education Division within the agency. And previously, he served as both the deer and elk biologist and deer and elk program coordinator for Kentucky, which is how I got to know Gabe. But in total, he's been working for about 14 years within Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources, working on everything from deer, elk, and all the diseases associated with those species, and several other projects that have to deal with wildlife management in Kentucky. And as he puts it, he's a biologist and researcher that gets to couple that experience to help out with information and education promotion, which he's taken as a lead within that division for the state. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Gabe so that he can kind of impart what I think is a really cool division within our state agency. And a lot of what they do is highly impactful, and which is why I volunteered Gabe to put this on. So go ahead, Gabe.
Thanks, Matt, and appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all today. I've really enjoyed the webinar series. I've not been able to make all of them, but the ones that I have been fantastic, from all the different aspects of conservation education, how we all bring conservation to the forefront and educate all the different people and groups and user groups across the country. So thank you for that opportunity, and also thank you to kind of anchor this and wrap this up in this series. And like Matt said, here in Kentucky, we are a state agency. We do some of the very traditional things other state agencies, but we all are also unique in some of those aspects that we offer. So really my plan today is just to kind of give you a high level review of our agency, the division that I represent, and then also other things that the entire agency does that's all conservation education related. I'll mainly be a PowerPoint, but I'll have a handful of videos just to try to cut down on the monotony of me talking and explaining some of that. So with that, I'll jump right in and share my screen here, and we'll get started. All right, I assume everybody can see that. So
yes.
Oh, thanks, Renee. Let's see here. So like Matt said, my name is Gabe Jenkins. I'm the director of our Information Education Division. I work for Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife, and today I'm going to highlight conservation education for our agency. And really where we're going to kind of go as a roadmap today, I'm going to start at a high level 30,000 foot view of our agency and our mission. I've noticed that a lot of folks that have participated and been in this webinar might not be employed or associated with a state fish and wildlife agency. So kind of what we do, and then bring that down to the information education or I&E, I will call it a lot, division. The different aspects that we have within I&E with our conservation educators, conservation camps, Kentucky Field Magazine and TV. We have a wildlife education center, our recruitment, retention, reactivation, or betterly known as R3 branch, and then our Kentucky Wild program. So the Department of Fish and Wildlife, our mission is to conserve, protect, enhance Kentucky's fish and wildlife resources and provide outstanding opportunities for hunting, fishing, trapping, boating, shooting sports, wildlife viewing, and related activities. Kind of who we are as an agency, we are an independent agency, but connected to the Tourism, Arts, and Heritage Cabinet. We are kind of governed or overseen by a 9-member volunteer commission board. Those board members are nominated by Kentucky anglers and hunters, and they're appointed by the governor and confirmed by our Senate. So a user approach on that side. That commission recommends regulations. They approve our research, and they hire and advise the commissioner. A little confusing there with commission and commissioner, but the commissioner would be essentially our chief officer or our chief employee within the department. Our agency in total right now is about 400 full-time and seasonal staff, and we serve all Kentuckians and our visitors, and we work with a wide array of partners to achieve our mission. So both users and non-users and everybody who has a vested interest in fish and wildlife and all those species associated with it. Really kind of getting into a little more specifics on what we do, a variety of things, whether that's enforcement of laws and resource protection and public safety. We own 165,000 acres, and we manage over 1 million acres of land and water that we partner with on public-private partnerships. We build and maintain boat ramps, shooting ranges, fishing access areas, and other facilities. We assist private landowners, about 16,000 private landowners working on fish and wildlife habitat. And then, specifically kind of where it's pertinent to this talk is inform and educate youth and adults through education and outreach programs. So you're going to hear me talk a lot about increased hunting, increased fishing, and this is why for us. Fish and wildlife recreation, it's a big business here in the Bluegrass State. If you're not familiar with Kentucky, most people immediately think of bourbon and fast horses. And really, the third part of that should be hunting and fishing. Kentucky tourism, they estimate, is an $11.8 billion industry. And of that $11.8 billion, $5.9 billion is directly related to wildlife recreation. So nearly half of all of the tourism in this state has to do with our agency, whether that is boating, fishing, hunting, or wildlife watching. And we can break that down into the millions and jobs and participants, but it's big. It's really big in this state, and why you see a lot of us talk about that. But also, as I kind of wrap up, we recognize there are other users. We're seeing declines like everybody else in hunting and fishing participation. We're working to try to combat that, but we're also trying to bring in different users or folks who might not be interested in hunting, fishing, but care about the natural resources. So a variety of things for us, but I really wanted to point that out, why it's such a big deal for us here in Kentucky and in the state. So getting in more of the agency, we're broken up into 7 different divisions, similar to all the other agencies: enforcement, wildlife, fisheries, and then information and education. So within my division, our mission is to develop and enhance awareness and knowledge of KDFWR programs and initiatives while educating the next generation of hunters, anglers, and outdoor enthusiasts, both young and old. So what I would like to do next is play about an 8-minute video. This video is kind of a highlight of our agency. My division produced these for all the different divisions, at least the major divisions, in the last year, that kind of says who we are, what we do. And this would be a highlight of the information education division. And so we'll jump right in and take a few minutes and listen to this.
Serving people, conserving fish and wildlife. At the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources, we take those words to heart. The department's Information and Education Division, comprised of educators, communicators, and information specialists, are committed to developing and enhancing awareness and appreciation for Kentucky's diverse natural resources. Its efforts promote responsible attitudes and actions that help to sustain the conservation of the Commonwealth's wildlife and fisheries.
A little better fish than mine.
If you view or read something from Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, it likely was produced by the Information and Education Division. Kentucky Field TV, Kentucky Field Magazine, press releases, regulation guides for hunting, fishing, and boating, and informational videos. They are all developed by this team of communications professionals.
Kentucky Afield, a program designed for sportsmen.
Kentucky Afield TV is the longest running hunting and fishing show in the country, on air since 1953.
Wow, that happened fast.
The Emmy award-winning show's goal is to showcase hunting, fishing, and other outdoor opportunities across the Commonwealth that folks can experience for themselves.
Nice job, man. Thank you.
We also highlight the work of agency biologists and other staff who work to enhance those opportunities and conserve Kentucky's vital natural resources. The show is available to over 8 million households weekly and can be viewed on YouTube and Roku as well.
I'm Chase Winiger, host of the podcast. Lee McClellan, co-host.
The Kentucky Afield podcast brings in Kentucky Fish and Wildlife experts to talk more in depth about the resources and the abundance of opportunities that they present. Kentucky Afield Magazine is one of the premier publications produced by a state fish and wildlife agency. In circulation since 1945, it was formerly known as Happy Hunting Ground. Articles in the magazine dive deeper into relevant topics among outdoor enthusiasts across Kentucky, ranging from personal interest stories to step-by-step how-to articles. Examples of written pieces include the restoration of elk in eastern Kentucky, how to properly maneuver a kayak, and how to cook your own wild harvest. Every cover of Kentucky Afield magazine since 2000 has featured the artwork of Rick Hill, Kentucky Fish and Wildlife's resident artist. Rick's paintings feature vibrant outdoor scenes and detailed depictions of the native Kentucky fish and wildlife species. Some of the most important publications for Kentucky's more than 1 million outdoor enthusiasts are the hunting, fishing, and boating guides, which summarize regulations that must be followed while in the field or on the water. Need to know the statewide size limit for largemouth bass? That's in the Fishing and Boating Guide. How about when and where you can bear hunt? Look in the Hunting and Trapping Guide. 5 different guides are produced annually by our Information and Education Division. Hard copies of some of these guides can be found at local licensing agents such as sporting goods retailers, bait and tackle shops, and gun shops. All of the guides are posted on our website in PDF format for viewing electronically or to print out. In 2021, the first Spanish version of the Fishing and Boating Guide was developed, eliminating a potential barrier to participation so more people can enjoy our public waterways. Do you have a question that you just can't seem to answer using our regulations guides or our website, fw.ky.gov? Then call our Information Center at 1-800-858-1549 or email us at info.center@ky.gov. Available 5 days a week from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, our experienced and friendly staff will help you get answers to your questions. A major focus of the Information and Education Division is raising the levels of awareness of and interest in fish and wildlife conservation by all ages through education. And our education efforts take many forms. One educational feature that Kentucky Fish and Wildlife provides to the public is the Salado Wildlife Education Center, located in Frankfort. With the goal of educating the public on the mission of Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, the center is home to an interpretive facility with numerous interactive exhibits, dozens of native Kentucky wildlife species in live displays, and 4 miles of hiking trails. Deer and elk, fishes, snakes, birds of prey, and even a black bear are some of our favorite live animals to our visitors, who number more than 50,000 each year. In the center, our conservation educators host programs that educate all ages about our native wildlife, including how hunting and fishing are vital conservation tools. Our animal care staff works tirelessly year-round to ensure all of the center's animals are well cared for and their habitats are safe and functional. Ensuring the animals are clean, healthy, and comfortable is a key aspect of creating a positive visitor experience. As part of that experience, you can borrow fishing rods and reels from the center to wet a line in 2 stocked fishing lakes on site. You can even get your fishing license at Salado. The Information and Education Division is committed to continuing the hunting and fishing heritage in Kentucky. One way is by helping Kentucky citizens learn how to be safe and ethical hunters by providing hunter education courses. Every year, about 10,000 people take the course to get Hunter Ed certified. Nearly 1,000 volunteer Kentucky hunter education instructors offer about 400 separate classes and require range days each year all across the state. Another way we help sustain hunting and fishing participation is by hosting about 5,000 4th, 5th, and 6th graders at our 3 conservation camps each summer. During the school year, our conservation educators visit hundreds of schools, speaking to about 65,000 children on important conservation topics. Then, those same educators spend all summer at camp hosting classes on fishing,
Look, I caught a fish. Oh.
archery, boating, marksmanship, and other outdoor recreation subjects. But the education doesn't stop there. Recruitment, retention, and reactivation, also known as R3, is a national effort to increase participation in hunting, fishing, trapping, boating, recreational shooting, and other wildlife-related activities. How do we do this? Our educators host in-person
You just drop it in the chamber. Now pump the gun forward.
and virtual events to provide access to anyone wanting to learn more about hunting and fishing. Programs such as Hook and Cook, Field to Fork, and Becoming an Outdoors Woman provide opportunities to experience hunting and fishing for the first time. And our educators help participants gain the skills and confidence they need to participate on their own. Kentucky is also home to the National Archery in the Schools program, or NASP. Created and launched in Kentucky in 2002, the program has expanded to 47 states and 11 countries. In Kentucky today, NASP archery classes are offered in roughly 700 schools and 45 community programs, teaching archery to nearly 150,000 students. Numerous staff from Kentucky Fish and Wildlife teams up with the NASP staff and volunteers each year to host a state tournament for up to 10,000 student archers who compete to earn college scholarships as well as tournament trophies and other prizes. Kentucky Fish and Wildlife's Information and Education Division brings together a diverse staff with a unique combination of skills, experience, and dedication to enhance public awareness and appreciation for Kentucky's fish and wildlife resources and their conservation. Passionate and mission-focused, that's who we are. Serving people, conserving fish and wildlife, that's what we do.
All right, so like I said, that was kind of a high level review of our division. That's pretty much a standalone. I could just walk away from there and say that's kind of what we do, but really what I wanted to take that and dive a little deeper and give you a little more background of those different entities and what that looks like. Also wanted to say, as I go along, if you have any questions, just type that in the chat. And when we get to the end, I'll try to answer those if I did not during the talk. Oh, sorry about that. So for us in the division, some of our key initiatives that we're working on right now is to expand our reach with our Kentucky Afield TV through our different social media channels and traditional methods that we are engaged in. We want to increase and diversify our participation like everybody else in the state and Fish and Wildlife Agency world. And what we're struggling with, as is everybody, is how do we reach new audiences? How do we get them to be engaged, to be interested in conservation education, to at least be supportive of that? That's the goal that we have is to bring interest and awareness and support. Ultimately, we would love to recruit them as new hunters and anglers, but at least be supportive of wise use and proper conservation and all of our species and management within the state. We want that unparalleled programming to combat those declines, and we're do that in a multiple different avenues, both virtually and in person. COVID really forced some of those changes. Pre-COVID, we had a pretty strong virtual section, but COVID really increased that and helped us provide more virtual opportunities. And then we're really trying to focus on adults and older age youth. I think a lot of efforts by state and Fish and Wildlife agencies in the 90s and early 2000s, they worked on kids and it felt good, but it really didn't recruit the kids like we had hoped. what we found is the kids that went through a lot of our youth courses, they would have been recruited already by their parents or mentors. And so we need to focus on those adults, especially early adults, when they first kind of get out of college and get some money in their pockets and looking for stuff. They have the abilities to drive, financial means to be engaged in hunting and fishing. And so where we've seen success in actually recruiting those, we don't get as much participation, but our recruitment is higher for those folks. And then, like everything, increase communication efforts in all different ways about the agency. So getting in, how we do this, our conservation educators, like you said, you heard this in a review. So we have 19 full-time educators who teach in the schools, and they teach conservation education to 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. Here in Kentucky, we have 120 counties. Those 19 educators cover all 120 counties, and we teach in every one of those. We're not in every school. I wish we were, but it's just feasibly not possible for us. But we are in every county, and we're in the classroom in each school 4 times a year. We teach anywhere between 65 and 75,000 kids. Those numbers would be pre-COVID. Now that we're getting back in the classroom, we'll see what that looks like for us. But we have a fantastic opportunity to teach children about conservation education. And we have a variety of topics that our educators can teach. We leave that up to them on what, but we provide the guidance on the kind of the topics, of their overarching topics, and they work with their teachers to come up with that curriculum for the year. Some can be gun safety and firearm safety, bear awareness in the areas where we have bear, horns and antlers, species management, etc. All different things about conservation that we teach to these kids. And then all the classes that we teach meet the Kentucky academic science standards. So we ensure that what we're teaching meets the needs of the state, and then it's a win-win for us. We get to teach about it. The teacher that allows their curriculum and their hours taught on the science standards. So it's a great partnership that we have with the schools. So those same educators, they're spending 8 months or so in the schools, and then the other 4 months of the year, they're focused on conservation camp. So also, like in the video, we run 3 conservation camps across the state. So Camp Curry, which would be in the western part, Camp Wallace in the central, and then Camp Webb in the eastern. All 3 camps are located on one of our large reservoirs. And we host anywhere between 5,500 and 6,000 kids, same age group that we teach, 4th, 5th, and 6th. This is a 5-day overnight camp that we run 9 weeks. So it's a big lift for us. Our educators are the ones that kind of have oversight of those in those camps, but then we hire a lot of camp counselors and supervisors to help us in this effort. While at camp, they get a variety of experiences where we teach archery and gun safety, boating, fishing, casting, swimming, nature study, and outdoor survival. In the video here, you see just a variety of things that kids get to experience and partake in. And then also we're working towards their hunter education certification. So everything that they're taught, they see that and have the opportunity to complete their hunter education card. So, some more pictures of our kiddos having fun. What we try to do is each section we have instruction where we kind of talk about what we're going to do, the activity, and then there's some sort of engaged participation on a one-on-one level to where each kid gets to try an activity. Each kid gets to try each activity alone, and then in like a small group setting. And then finally, during our free times in the evenings, we open up all the different activities and allow them to just kind of spend one-on-one time with some oversight of our staff at the things that they have interest in, whether it's, swimming, they know that's always a big favorite when it's hot, but, boating, motorboating, kayaking, 22, I don't think I have any pictures here, but we shoot skeet and trap with 20 gauges. And so they get the opportunity to shoot some clay pigeons and fishing. So it's a great time for these kids. And, they talk about lifetime memories. And we've been running these camps for 70 years, so we have multi-generational families that have been there, great grandparents, kids, aunts and uncles. So it's a really cool atmosphere and opportunity that we get to have here and get to offer. And then moving on, our Kentucky Afield TV. So similar things here that we saw in the video. This is our hunting and fishing show that we first aired in 1953. So it's the longest continuous running show in the country. We're in approximately 8 million households weekly on our KET, which is our PBS affiliate across the state. That's not just in Kentucky, but it also expands in parts of West Virginia, Ohio, Tennessee, and Missouri. So we are, multi-state in that show. Like I said, it airs every week. And then also our different social media channels that we have are just spectacular in our performance just for the TV show. So for the show itself, we have 150,000 YouTube subscribers. We have 230,000 Facebook followers. Roku, we're looking at thousands and thousands of views. TikTok is one that's really taken off for us. And so this group, and like I said, this is an independent social media groups and channels than our agency. So our agency also has one as well, but this is just our TV show. TV show has a podcast. Right now we're averaging about 5,000 downloads per podcast. And I think we've got a very high ceiling on where that can go with that group. So, for us, the focus has always been the TV show, but we've expanded into other social media channels, and we have to adapt our footage and content for different platforms. So why I have this video here to the right with all these exotic carp. So we were doing a show where we were featuring our fisheries biologist in how the severity of the exotic carp in Western Kentucky. So we had all of our cameras set up traditional format, and our videographer's like, I'm going to take this quick video with my phone and we'll post it on TikTok. Well, that thing went viral. That video right there was played all across the country. ABC News actually picked it up and talked about it on the nightly news. We had like 17 million views of that video alone, when that wasn't even our primary focus. So for us, we've learned to be adaptive, try different things. And also when we set out to shoot a segment, how can we shoot that segment to reach and be the most effective on all different social media platforms? And then on the show specifically, we also have a woods and water section that we highlight every week, where we deal with specific agency initiatives or how-to videos. We might highlight a wildlife management area, teach you how to tie a specific knot, hunting safety, tree stand safety, variety of things that's kind of more applicable and hands-on. And then all of this is done by a crew of 5. It really is spectacular what they're able to do as a five-member crew with one host, one producer, and 3 videographers and editors. So our videographers both shoot the footage and then also edit and produce that segment for the show each week. Then next, our Kentucky Afield magazine. I won't spend a lot of time on this. Most state agencies have a magazine. Originally it was called the Happy Hunting Ground, and where that references is from Daniel Boone. When Boone came across the Appalachian Plateau and came into Kentucky, he called it the Happy Hunting Ground, and so that kind of segued to the magazine. We changed that in the mid 90s to Kentucky Field. It's like I said, it's our official publication. We have 25,000 subscribers. That you see on the magazine, and then also on this PowerPoint template that I'm sharing with you guys today. All of these are artist renditions from our artist Rick Hill. So Rick, like in the video, he's worked for our agency for a long time. He's a phenomenal artist, and his art has been showcased all across the country in a variety of places and aspects that we normally wouldn't be. I mean, we get requests every year to do an art show and feature his work. And so that allows us to tell the story of conservation education through art, through Rick. And so through his paintings, it usually has some sort of comment section or what it's depicting along with that art in the subheading below to try to explain it. So we're tickled to have him and his expertise and what he's able to provide. Also, one thing that's fairly unique to us is our Wildlife Education Center, so Salado. This is here on our campus. It's an interactive education center that has both interpretive exhibit and live native animals. We run this with 9 full-time staff members. We host a variety of educational programs with both animal enrichment and education and how hunting and fishing is the ultimate conservation tool. We have a lot of the hunted species, but also a lot of the non-hunted species, restoration management agency initiatives that the agency has. A lot of kind of touching and feeling. You see a lot of the demonstration animals where people are able to get up close and personal to those. It's very popular. It's only open 8 months of the year. We close down in the winter, but we get 50,000 visitors a year that walk through our facility. We have both an indoor and outdoor component to that. The indoor is 11,500 square foot indoor facility that demonstrates hunting, fishing, species restoration, and wildlife conservation. And then outside, we have a 150-acre campus here that's really an outdoor classroom, and it's directly associated with the education center is 25 acres of exhibits and enclosures where you can go see the bison or the elk or the bobcat, or go get in the dragonfly marsh or the prairie exhibit and see monarchs and things like that. So you really get to see everything that Kentucky was in a native state there at our education center. And then moving on to our R3 or recruitment, retention, reactivation branch. A lot of hunting and fishing promotion, but also conservation education is built into that. This is probably our biggest branch as far as staffing goes. We have 11 full-time staff, and we're in a variety of different aspects of this group, whether there are our hunting training officers. So there's our hunter education, our R3 hunting educators. I'll dig into this a little more. Aquatic education, archery in the schools, and then the newest one that we've added is a shooting sports coordinator. We've not really done a lot with shooting sports in the state as far as firearms goes, and so we're hoping to develop that and push more shooting sports and access there as well. So specifically in the R3 branch, we have hunter education. We teach 10,000 plus people a year on hunter education, mainly by volunteers. We have our 4 educators that kind of have oversight of that, but it's all volunteer based. And just like every other state that does that. National Archery in the Schools program, or NASP, like the video said, that was started by our agency in the early 2000s, and it's blossomed nearly all across the country. That's one person coordinates that for us, and thousands upon thousands thousands of archers in the states, in the schools that shoot archery. And it's a program that we're tickled to be a part of, and very fortunate to be the ones who started that and watched that grow in the last 2 decades. Also on the aquatic side, we have what we call as hook and cook. So classes where we have folks that are interested in learning to become anglers come to a course, and we teach you both how to effectively fish, where to fish, and then also clean those fish. We have seen a very big interest, like we have all across the country, in kind of that sustainable food, locavore, organic stuff that comes, that's close to home. So we focus this a lot on our urban areas and our urban fisheries programs, to where we get people that have lakes and waters close to them that they can go to and fish, and if they're interested in doing so, also cleaning and eating those fish. So a pretty popular program that's growing as we expand out more with it. Becoming an Outdoors Woman, this is a national program that we also participate in, where we take women and expose them to all the different outdoor aspects of getting outside. This is more than just hunting and fishing. It might be firearms or archery or hiking or nature ID. So this is really one of our showcase programs where we teach conservation education, a wide array of classes that we teach, and these things always fill up. They're very popular for folks to come to. And then kind of our kind of marquee, the Field to Fork program. Many states have adopted this. This is similar to NASP. We started this. You'll see a lot of folks talk about Field to Fork and participating in that, but the first program that was ever taught and named this way came out of Kentucky and our agency. And that is really a way for us to get people interested in hunting, and then how they can harvest their own game, clean their own game, and then cook their own game. So they come to this course. It's, usually a whole day or a couple of days, give them introduce them the basics of hunting. And then, there's demonstrations, and we'll bring in demonstration animals to try to help them be confident and go in the field. And it could be a lot for somebody to first pick up a firearm or some sort of hunting implement, harvesting that animal and then cleaning it. So we want to put them in all those different aspects in the class situation as a group, and then watch that class flourish and become new hunters. Is really a really fantastic program. I know Matt's done this and expanded it through the universities, and we have the universities now teaching this. And so we're just totally excited on that program and where it's going all across the country. Is our Kentucky Wild program. We focused a lot on my talk today on hunting and angling. And this is a program that's not for, per se, when we designed it, for hunters and anglers. And it's a way for anybody to support vulnerable wildlife facing threats in Kentucky. It was launched in 2018, and it's a membership/sponsorship program where you can become a member of Kentucky Wild or sponsor Kentucky Wild. And that gets you a variety of things, but it's basically your buy-in to help species of greatest need, whether it be barn owls or monarchs or hellbenders, crayfish, all of those things. And that money from those membership and sponsorships goes directly into our Kentucky Wild program for our staff who work on those species. And that program has really taken off. We have 6,500 members right now all across the country. With those programs, you get opportunities to do field experiences where you can go out with our staff, and maybe you might misnet some birds or build bluebird boxes, or help in the construction of boxes for barn owls, variety of things that we need help with in a group setting. And then, construction, also deployment in those. They've gone, and we have a mussel facility where we have raise and propagate mollusk, and so we have to tag those, and we offer that every year where people can come in and help us tag all of those mollusks before they're released into the wild. So a really neat program, kind of like the introduction video. I have a video that I'd like to show to kind of wrap us up about Kentucky Wild that kind of explains that more and how folks can be involved and get with that. So with that, I will show you this video real quick.
How many different types of wildlife can you name? Did you know that Kentucky is home to nearly 1,000 species of wildlife?
As Kentucky's population grows and the landscape changes, all of our wildlife face new challenges.
Many species that were once safe are now vulnerable.
The Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife has a team of scientists dedicated to the monitoring and study of animals that are not hunted, fished, or trapped.
Bats,
lizards,
Snakes,
Salamanders,
Mussels,
raptors,
songbirds,
and darters.
Current funding isn't keeping pace, and there's still a lot of work left to do.
We need to expand the community of people just like you,
who are conscious and committed to conserving Kentucky's wildlife.
We work every day to improve Kentucky's landscape so that these species can thrive.
And now there's a way for you to jump in and help.
Be our partner in this work by becoming a member of our new and exciting Kentucky Wild program.
Your involvement in Kentucky Wild will help ensure that future generations of Kentuckians can enjoy our state's wildlife.
Together, we can purchase research equipment, improve the quality of habitat,
and fund survey and monitoring projects for our state's most vulnerable species.
Fortunately, we know that good wildlife management works. The recovery of the bald eagle is just one example of how people can help wildlife.
When you become a member of Kentucky Wild, we'll work side by side and do our part to keep Kentucky wild.
Help me 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 keep Kentucky wild.
help us keep Kentucky wild.
Help me keep Kentucky wild.
Help me keep Kentucky wild.
Help me keep Kentucky wild.
So as I kind of wrap up today, to highlight where we've been, here in Kentucky, we use a lot of the same tools that other state fish and wildlife agencies do to teach conservation education. But we are unique in a handful of ways in what we do and provide, whether it's our conservation camps or education center or our TV show. We have a heavy focus on increase of hunting and participation, and kind of explain why and such a big driver in this state. But we are growing into different categories and user groups to bring that knowledge and awareness of other species that are not hunted and fished that are vital to our agency and our state on protection and management. And so with that, that is pretty much my talk. Kind of a highlight of the department and of the division. And with that, I'll be glad to take any questions and go back to you, Matt.
Great job, Gabe. Really appreciate your time and insight into some of the activities that your agency has going, especially, that whole outreach flare, education flare. We do have a couple questions. I don't know if you saw them, but I'll read them off for you here. George has a question about the county comprehensive plans, which I believe came up in one of the videos there in the front end. Do you get involved in helping craft the goals, objectives, and policies of the natural resource component? And do you help make those critical habitat maps, including identifying the non-game species?
So our agency does. That doesn't fall to our information and education division. That falls in our wildlife division. As our director, I have at least some input there on the education and awareness component. But a lot of that has been limited, especially when it comes to species of greatest concern and need. But I'm excited to see where this is going in the future, especially with the potential for RAWA, or Restoring America's Wildlife Act, that it's a federal bill that's through Congress right now that could bring multiple millions to our state and all the states for species of greatest concern. And there is an education component to that will provide funding for us to teach and educate about species of greatest concern. And so that's fantastic. We're super excited about that. It's passed the House. It's looked like it has some success in the Senate, so we'll see. But man, that would be landmark legislation if we could get that through and really give us a seat at the table and provide that funding and mechanism for species that need it the most.
Yeah, I think it preaches to the choir about Raleigh here.
Yeah, so I know everybody's aware of that, so I had to plug it one more time just in case he was, but wasn't.
And then, so we have another question from Abigail. She's very says it's very interesting insights about actual recruitment of new license holders from the emphasis on that kids program. How did you collect the data and come up with that conclusion? And then do you also have similar data from the Becoming an Outdoors Woman program? And I know that I've had this conversation with your folks many times about those conservation camps, because they're so interesting in terms of that tool as a education tool and recruitment tool. But yeah, the outcome of it has always been my question.
So I guess I'll answer this in a two-part way. So what I was referring to was a lot of the youth-specific events, free fishing weekend, fishing derbies, where we encourage all these kids to come and fish. or we do a youth education event that's hunting or fishing related, where you kind of give them everything in one day and turn them loose and say, good luck. Those are what I'm talking about. They feel good because you taught the youth and the next generation, but it's really not recruiting that kid into hunting and fishing culture, because they lack that mentor. They lack that, also the financial abilities to buy their supplies and the abilities to go. They can't drive, and so the only way they're going to be recruited is if they have somebody that's in their family or extended friendship that will take them and get them involved. And so we've seen limited success in recruiting those folks. With our conservation camps, that's completely different, because at this point we're spending a week with these kids, and most of the time when they're come out, they're able to fish on their own, correctly and safely operate a firearm or 22, and it takes that amount of time, and they're older. So we see a little bit better recruitment from those kids. We have their customer identification number. They get their hunter education card, and we give them a junior sportsman's license when they come out. So I did miss pointing that out. And we're able to track them through time and see how many of those kids are recruited and how often they come into the license buying world once they get that old. And so we have that. And then one thing since I've come over into I&E is we have all these classes that we've taught, and we've been doing them for 5 or 6 years. And Matt and I have talked about this is, it's been a shotgun approach. We have Becoming an Outdoors Woman, we have Hook and Cook and NASP, and all these things going. What classes are achieving the objective for us of recruiting that person? But is that a fair assessment? Part of this is just education. Kind of what I talked about at the beginning was we're just bringing awareness and letting them kind of dip their toe into it to see if it's something they're interested in. And if they come to us and they were, they try it and they're not sure hunting and fishing is something for them, but they're supportive of our agency and supportive of conservation education, that is a win. It might not be a financial win for us, but it is a win. It's a long-term awareness and kind of what we're all doing here. So yeah, I want to recruit them to be a hunter or an angler, but ultimately I want them to support by their votes and being a good steward of the resource. So, with the adults, when they come, our classes are normally smaller, but they're more intimate, but they have all those means. They have the financial means, they have the abilities to drive, they have that interest. And most of the time they come to us in the aspects of food. They come to us because they're interested in getting clean, organic, food. They don't want store-bought chicken or farm, or feedlot beef. They want that to come off the landscape. And so they're a different user than one of our traditional hook and bullet research biologists. And so they come at it from a different aspect, and it's really cool to work with those folks. They just want to harvest an animal, take it home and cook it. And that's pretty cool. And I can definitely identify with that. And, what we, as that ornate human, that's what we did. We're hunter gatherers. And so that we see that increase in a lot of that change across the country and in the Commonwealth here.
So I may have missed this in your presentation, Gabe, but one of the really neat components of your outreach mechanism, especially when it comes to highlighting the hunting and fishing part of our state resources that you mentioned to me once you got in your position, was the whole YouTube component and the funding mechanism that comes from that. Is kind of stealing from the commercial hunting industry a little bit. I don't know how much that plays into your state agency decision making in terms of funding and prioritizing certain educational programs. So I guess you have an idea what I'm talking about relative to Kentucky Afield, right?
Right. So on social media you have monetization, so you can monetize those shows and those episodes to make money for the agency, and that helps us offset some of our costs and do those. So what we put out there, what we showcase, and allow people to buy ads and do that to help us in what we do. So with the enormous number of followers that we have on our social media channels for our TV show, it really is a nice benefit to that, and it doesn't really cost us anything. It's the same 5 folks that do that for the show also partake in that aspect of it.
And then I believe Maureen has a question. I don't know if she's able to pop on.
Yeah, I can unmute. I just realized since I'm a panelist, it wouldn't let me type. Gabe, I wanted to ask from the perspective of someone else doing outreach, sometimes it's hard to know which different types, like especially of social media or whatever new things are worth investing in. So like, what are some of the things that y'all think about when deciding to go with a new format? So for example, TikTok is something that I have not been brave enough to jump into, but obviously y'all are having amazing success with it, but it takes some time, right, to set that up and get that presence. And so how do y'all decide when something new comes along, whether or not to use that, that format?
Well, for us, I mean, I feel like we try to be innovative at all points and all aspects of it. And a lot of it just is, do we have somebody who has that interest? And, they basically lay out a plan and bring that to me if it falls within our division, and look at, if we're going to go this route, what do we want to try? And then what are we going to take off the plate, and where can we go with this? Through COVID, we tried a lot of different things. We did a weekly, what we called conservation conversations. I was the host of that along with our public information officer, and we talked about things. I think that thing was great. We just didn't have the participation that we wanted. And, I don't know why that didn't take off. We tried it for 6 months and it just didn't go. But with TikTok, as one, we have a TikTok account for our Salado Wildlife Education Center, and they have put out some phenomenal things. It's not gone. It's not gone viral, not taken off. But the TV show, I mean, everything they do seems to go, and we don't really know why. I mean, we had a video the other day of our host driving or motoring his boat right up to a kid fishing on the dock and said, "Hey, I'm Chad Miles with Kentucky Afield TV. You want to go fishing?" The kid like lights up and is like, "Oh, it's Chad Miles, the host." And that was it. That thing got 4.5 million views in 24 hours. Like, it went completely viral. Why that one went, I don't have a clue. So, as we venture into some of these other things, what works, what doesn't, what we think works, what doesn't, we just have to be adaptable and see where it goes. And, we're not afraid to try something new, but if it's not working, we're also going to pull the plug and go back to it. So, we had a conversation just yesterday on TikTok, specifically in our hunter education side of things, whether it's, don't be that guy or that gal and how you behave, or just some how-to videos, and just trying to find your niche and where you fit in on some of those channels. And really where we've spent some time also is looking and seeing what's not out there, right? Like, search a specific thing. You don't see this video. Okay, let's make that. Let's embed that somewhere and see where that goes to bring awareness to it.
So 2 things, both coming from extension personnel. One is from Abby, who asked that question earlier. She's a county extension agent in Massachusetts, and she just joined your Facebook group there because she enjoyed it so much. So you
nice.
Recruitment in action here. And then unfortunately, Becky McPeak, who's extension specialist from Arkansas, just said that the University of Arkansas Extension just disallowed the use of TikTok because their IT folks have deemed it a security risk. So that's unfortunate, which probably means it's coming our way here too.
Yeah, probably so. Us too. We'll do it as long as we can, right?
That's always seems to be the case. But Becky, thanks for that input. And actually, I need to call you about something else here soon too. I'm glad that you're able to join us. But with that, we're kind of coming up on time here. So if there's any last questions, you can pop them in the chat or question and answer tool now. That'd be great. If not, Gabe, I want to reiterate thanks for your time and insight into some of the great work that your agency is doing. And we got one more appreciation of the discussion about TikTok, and then I think from there, we'll wrap it up. And as a reminder, this will be available on our working group website and also the University of Kentucky Forestry Extension YouTube page within the next couple of weeks, in case there's anything on there you want to grab or rewatch. And then once again, I'm going to remind folks about the workshop that we're putting on at the National Wildlife Society meeting in Spokane on outreach efforts and presentation. So with that, I appreciate everyone's time and attention and questions, and hope you all have a great day.
Thanks, Matt.